9.
If you ask, like, almost anyone where the devil is right now, they'll probably tell you he's in hell.
Right, yeah. Ruling the underworld.
Exactly. Like pitchfork in hand, and he's been locked down there since the dawn of time.
Hmm.
But according to the most scrutinized apocalyptic text in human history, he has actually never spent a single second there.
Not 1 second.
He's been here.
It is honestly a staggering realization when you first encounter it because, we tend to view human history like this giant global chessboard.
Right.
We see the kings, the presidents, the armies moving across the map, and we just naturally assume that human ambition is what's driving the game.
We view war and empire through this entirely terrestrial lens.
Precisely. We focus on the pieces, not the player.
Well, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a massive stack of theological commentary, historical analysis, and biblical exposition, and our mission is to look past those human players.
Yeah, to look at the actual architect.
Right. We are mapping out the incredible overarching timeline of history's ultimate unseen antagonist, the Great Red Dragon of Revelation chapter 12.
It's quite a timeline.
It really is. We're going to trace this entity from a pre-human celestial rebellion through his, covert role in shaping ancient historical regimes, all the way to a prophesied future global dictatorship.
Right, the final end game.
Exactly. So let's pull back the curtain on history's ultimate puppet master.
I think to understand the wars and the political centralization we see on Earth, the text argues we first have to understand the architect orchestrating them.
Right.
And Revelation introduces this enemy not as like an abstract concept of evil, but as a terrifying, massive symbol.
The Great Red Dragon.
Yes!
Yeah.
A great red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on those heads.
Okay, let's unpack this because I have to admit, to a modern reader, a red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns sounds like a monster from a high fantasy novel.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It doesn't sound like a geopolitical blueprint. It feels almost cartoonish. How are we supposed to read that as a serious historical or political map?
Well, you have to decode the specific mechanics of apocalyptic literature. In these ancient texts, beasts almost always represent human empires.
Okay.
And horns represent military power or individual kings.
And the red color.
The red color isn't just a stylistic choice. It indicates a murderous, blood-soaked nature. War.
Wow. Okay, so what about the crowns?
That's actually the most critical detail. The dragon is wearing crowns.
Meaning he has authority.
Exactly. That tells us he isn't just some spiritual nuisance, floating around in the ether. He is a political architect claiming sovereignty.
Right.
Those 7 heads and 10 horns symbolize the successive world powers. So we're talking Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome.
The literal human empire.
Yes, the literal empires he has used throughout time to achieve his goals.
It's exactly like a mob boss running a shadow syndicate.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Because a smart Don doesn't walk out onto the street and do the dirty work himself.
Mm-hmm.
He operates through front organizations.
Mm-hmm.
He uses layers.
Yeah, he buys a legitimate waste management company, or he bribes a local judge, and he just manipulates the city's infrastructure from behind a desk.
He stays clean.
Right. And in this cosmic narrative, the dragon is using successive human empires as his front organizations to carry out hits and launder his power.
That captures the dynamic perfectly. He uses the legitimate structures of human governance to execute his illegitimate will.
Wow.
And the timeline of this empire breaks down into 3 distinct phases.
Okay, where are they?
First, you have the birth, which actually predates human history.
The Heavenly Rebellion.
Right. It's a failed celestial coup against God, resulting in the dragon and a third of the angels being exiled from the highest heaven.
Okay.
Then you have the rise, which is his covert manipulation of ancient regimes, specifically the Roman Empire, to target his enemies.
And the third phase, the fall. That's a prophesied future event where he abandons the shadows entirely and takes absolute direct control through a global dictator known as the Antichrist.
But, a mob boss doesn't just amass power for the fun of it. He does it to eliminate threats.
Always.
And in the vision, the dragon is standing in front of a woman who is about to give birth, just waiting to devour her child the second it arrives.
Right, the ultimate target.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because I read the commentary on the identity of this woman, and I have to push back a little.
Okay, go ahead.
The analysis claims she represents Israel, Mary, Eve, and the church.
All 4.
Yes, that sounds like theological gymnastics, to be honest. I mean, how could one symbol be 4 totally different historical entities without the text just collapsing into chaos.
I get that. It seems contradictory until you understand why apocalyptic writers use something called fusion imagery.
Fusion imagery.
Yeah, or polyvalence symbolism. They didn't view history as disconnected eras the way we do. They viewed it as a single, continuous story of God's people.
Oh.
So by layering these identities into one symbol, the author is showing that the target on the back of God's people has never changed.
Even as their specific identity evolved through history.
Exactly.
It's like looking through a prism.
Ooh, yeah.
Like you hold up one single beam of light, the woman, but depending on the angle of human history you look from, it breaks into a different color.
That is precisely how it functions. Let's actually look at those angles.
Okay, let's do it.
First, the text describes her as clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars.
Which sounds very cosmic.
It does, but in ancient Middle Eastern cosmology, and specifically referencing Joseph's dream in the book of Genesis, those celestial bodies represent the patriarchs and the 12 tribes of Israel.
Oh, right, because Joseph dreamt the sun, moon, and stars bowed down to him.
Exactly. So fundamentally, she is the nation of Israel from which the Messiah will emerge.
But if you turn that prism slightly, the text says she gives birth to a male child destined to rule the nations with an iron rod. And that is an undeniable reference to Jesus Christ, making the woman very literally Mary.
It does, and if you turn it to look backward in time, she echoes Eve.
From the Garden of Eden.
Right. Because this entire scene, a serpent-like dragon harboring a cosmic hatred for a woman and her seed, that is a direct continuation of the ancient curse pronounced in the garden.
The war started right there.
It did. And finally, looking forward to the end of the chapter, the dragon goes off to make war on the rest of her offspring.
Who are the rest of her offspring?
They're identified as believers who hold to the testimony of Jesus. So, she is the church.
Wow.
One symbol capturing the entire spectrum of the dragon's targets.
Which brings a terrifying clarity to real-world events.
Yeah.
Because this cosmic hatred, it doesn't just stay in the spiritual realm.
No, it doesn't.
It bleeds directly into political violence. I mean, look at the historical anchor of this vision, the ancient Roman Empire.
Right.
The dragon wants to devour the child. So how does that manifest on earth?
Yeah.
King Herod, a Roman official, orders the mass infanticide of Jewish boys in Bethlehem. We usually read that as just a paranoid human king protecting his throne. But this text argues Herod was just the puppet.
He was the front.
Right, the dragon was pulling the strings to assassinate the Messiah.
And what's fascinating here is that ancient infanticide is a chilling prototype.
How so?
Because the mechanisms of the dragon's empire don't change. The texts point out that in his final future empire, he will use the exact same systematic, state-sponsored violence against believers who refuse to worship his system.
Wow. So this entirely shatters the Sunday school version of the story.
Absolutely.
There's an actual tactical war taking place, overlapping with our political history. But let's get back to the timeline and the location, because we had established earlier that the devil wasn't in hell.
Right. Dispelling the pitchfork myth.
Yeah, so wait. If he wasn't locked in the underworld this whole time, where exactly has he been operating from?
Okay, to understand this, we have to look at ancient biblical cosmology, which divided reality into 3 heavens.
3 heavens, okay.
Yes. The first heaven is our immediate atmosphere, the sky, where the birds fly.
Got it.
The third heaven is the ultimate dwelling place of God.
Okay, so what's the second?
The second heaven, or the middle heaven, represents outer space and the unseen spiritual dimensions surrounding the earth.
Oh, yeah.
After his initial rebellion, Satan was cast out of the third heaven, but he was not locked in hell. He retained access to the earth and the middle heaven.
He had a horrifying amount of clearance.
He really did.
I mean, the historical accounts in these texts show he was free to stroll into the Garden of Eden to tempt Eve.
Yeah.
He could appear in the heavenly courtroom to accuse Job.
Right.
He could physically walk the earth and taunt Jesus Christ in the wilderness. He wasn't chained to a fiery rock.
No.
He was operating on this massive interstellar and terrestrial scale.
And his primary role during this time was highly structured.
Structured? What do you mean?
Well, the Hebrew word Satan isn't actually a first name.
Really?
No, it's a legal title. It translates directly to the accuser or the prosecuting attorney.
Oh, wow.
He had a legal standing in the heavenly courtroom to bring charges against humanity.
Wait, think about that for a second. Think about every time you felt overwhelming, paralyzing guilt or shame.
Yeah.
According to this worldview, that isn't just your internal conscience acting up. It's a reflection of a literal legal prosecution happening in a different dimension.
Yes.
The accusers pointing out every flaw, demanding justice.
That's exactly it. But Revelation 12 describes a turning point that fundamentally alters the cosmos.
The war in heaven.
Yes. A war breaks out in heaven. Michael and his angels fight against the dragon and his forces.
And Michael isn't just any angel. He's essentially the Secretary of Defense for Israel in the spiritual realm.
That's a great way to describe him.
He's the only named archangel, and his entire existence seems to be combat against these shadow entities. I mean, he fought the demonic prince of Persia.
Which was the spiritual power controlling the Persian Empire.
Right, he's the ultimate warrior angel.
He is. However, if we connect this to the bigger picture, there is a profound theological insight here championed by thinkers like John Calvin.
What did Calvin say?
They argue that Michael, in this specific battle, might actually represent Christ himself.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because the name Michael means who is like God.
Wait, why would Christ be referred to as Michael here? Does the Greek text support that kind of identity swap?
It's less about a literal identity swap and more about the mechanism of the victory.
Okay, explain that.
At the dawn of time, the dragon took the offensive by rebelling. But the phrasing here implies that the commander of heaven takes the offensive against the dragon.
Right.
The theology suggests this isn't just swords and shields in the clouds. This represents the triumph of the cross and the ascension.
Oh, I see.
Christ earns the victory on earth, ascends to heaven, and takes the battle directly to the prosecuting attorney.
So going back to that courtroom analogy.
Yes.
God is the judge. For thousands of years, the dragon has been the prosecutor, standing in the middle heaven, reading humanity's rap sheet.
Yeah. Relentlessly.
Then Christ steps into the courtroom. But he doesn't argue the evidence. He presents his own blood as the ultimate settlement.
Yes.
The debt is paid. The legal case collapses.
And because the case is dismissed, the prosecuting attorney has zero legal standing left.
He's done.
The text says the dragon and his angels were not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven.
He is permanently disbarred.
Exactly. He is physically and spiritually evicted from the heavenly realms forever. Wow. The texts describe a loud voice in heaven shouting that salvation and strength have come because the accuser has been cast down.
That is massive. I mean, he can no longer bring a single charge against you because the Supreme Court threw the case out.
Right. Heaven rejoices.
But, and here is the terrifying part, that eviction notice comes with a massive warning for the earth.
It does.
Because when the ultimate prosecutor gets disbarred and thrown down to our dimension, he doesn't quietly retire.
No.
He panics.
And this is the critical pivot to the final phase we talked about, the shift to global dictatorship.
Okay, let's get into this.
The text says the dragon is filled with uncontrolled fury because he knows his time is short.
And how short is short?
Well, apocalyptic literature calculates short very specifically. It outlines a period of a time, times, and half a time.
What does that translate to?
In prophetic math, a time is 1 year, times is 2 years, and half a time is 6 months.
So 3.5 years.
Exactly. The period known as the Great Tribulation.
The clock is ticking. So what does this all mean? It's like watching a grandmaster chess player who has been playing this incredibly complex, centuries-long game from the shadows.
Right.
But suddenly he looks at the board and realizes he is exactly one move away from checkmate, and there is absolutely no escape.
He's cornered.
Yeah. He doesn't try to out-strategize his opponent anymore. In a fit of absolute unhinged rage, he just flips the entire board and starts smashing the pieces.
Exactly. Deception turns into brute force.
The Shadow Syndicate just becomes open warfare.
That shift from calculated manipulation to overt destruction is exactly what happens. The dragon abandons the shadows.
He comes out into the open.
Yes. He empowers his ultimate human agent, the Antichrist, elevating him to a global dictator.
And he also brings in the false prophet.
Right, he does. He forms an unholy alliance, utilizing a false prophet as a propaganda arm to mimic the divine Trinity and demands total worship.
Wow.
The beast-like qualities of human empire reach their absolute peak here. And in this fury, the dragon launches 3 final desperate assaults against the woman.
The remnant of believers.
Yes.
So the Antichrist is in power. The whole world is under this system. But this remnant is still out there. How does a global dictator actually hunt down a cosmic target?
Well, first, the text says the woman is given the 2 wings of a great eagle to flee into the wilderness.
Okay, what does that mean?
She flees to a place prepared by God where she is nourished for those 3.5 years. So God supernaturally preserves a remnant outside the system.
Okay, so they escape the initial dragnet.
Right. But the dragon continues the pursuit. The second assault occurs when the serpent spews water out of his mouth like a flood to sweep the woman away.
A flood. I was going to ask if we were talking about a literal flash flood here.
No, you have to understand the symbolism. Water and floods in apocalyptic texts almost always represent multitudes of people or invading armies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is a massive military surge sent by the Antichrist to exterminate the fleeing believers.
A flood of soldiers.
Yes.
But the Earth's response to this is even more fascinating.
Yeah.
Because the third event is the Earth itself intervening.
Right.
The text says the Earth opens its mouth and supernaturally swallows the flood. So God uses natural disasters or geographical phenomena to completely neutralize the Antichrist's military surge. The dragon's forces are just wiped out.
Swallowed up.
Thwarted again, he turns away from the wilderness and goes to make war on the rest of her offspring.
A tribulation saints scatter across the globe.
Right.
Now, this raises an important question about how we view these events. Reading about a future global dictator, mass persecution, and a period of great tribulation usually fills people with dread.
Oh, absolutely. It's terrifying.
But if you actually understand the mechanics of what is happening here, this text frames these horrific events as the ultimate proof of the dragon's defeat.
That completely flips how you read apocalyptic prophecies.
It does.
He's not acting out of strength, he's lashing out in sheer desperation.
Exactly. A caged animal is vicious precisely because it knows it's trapped.
Right.
The shift to a brutal totalitarian dictatorship isn't a sign that the dragon is winning. It's the undeniable proof that his time has run out.
His legal case has failed.
Yes. His subtle deceptions have collapsed, and all he has left is a temporary, violent temper tantrum.
Wow.
It is the final chapter of a war that was already won in the heavenly courtroom.
That is, as we wrap up this deep dive, the sheer scope of this narrative is just breathtaking.
It really spans all of history.
It does. We've tracked the Great Red Dragon from his celestial rebellion, examining his ancient cosmological freedom to roam the middle heavens as the accuser. We decoded the mechanics of his empire, how he used successive powers like Rome to target the Messiah.
Right.
We unpacked the polyvalent symbolism of the woman, connecting the dots from Genesis to the final church.
The prism.
The prism, exactly. And we've seen how Christ's ultimate settlement in the heavenly courtroom forces the dragon's eviction to Earth, driving him to empower a final, desperate global dictator.
And I think this brings it all back to you, the listener.
Yeah, why does this matter?
Why does understanding the underlying logic of these ancient texts matter today? Because whether you view this purely as a brilliant piece of ancient political and theological literature, or you view it as literal impending prophecy, it fundamentally rewires how you perceive the nature of evil.
It really does.
It insists that evil isn't just a string of random, chaotic tragedies. Evil organizes itself. It drafts legislation. It signs international treaties. It builds political regimes.
It's the puppet master hiding behind the legitimate structures of human governance.
Precisely.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to carry into your week. If the ultimate symbol of cosmic evil operates primarily by manipulating world powers, and its final desperate goal is the total centralization of human government,
Right.
how does that change the way you watch the news?
That's the real question.
When you see the relentless drive for global power, the consolidation of authority, and the shifting of geopolitical alliances, are you just watching pieces move on a board? Or are you finally seeing the strings?
Wow.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
Nye.